All right, so here we go. Part two of Alderheart, the Great Tree, for my Humblewood game. So let's recap. First session, I just basically did pencil art on a piece of paper. Took a picture of it with my phone, brought it into Photoshop, did a bit of penciling work. Did a bit of penciling work, it's at full resolution, at full opacity. Did basic inking or basic color. That's what that looks like. And now I'm going to work on the. I'm actually going to make these even less visible because now I'm going to start working on the city that's in the background here. It's basically forest and stuff like that. So yeah. So I'm going to use my same drawing tool as before. Let me know what you guys think, all of my viewers, what you think of me using talking as I do this, or should I record it and then basically, do a voiceover, like record a voiceover at double or triple speed or something like that, so that it just kind of goes more quickly. You gotta let me know. So I'm just gonna zoom right in, and I'm gonna do more little houses. Oh, wrong color. Okay, more little houses. And these are pretty great because I can just do them right on top of the this art, because this is actually the layer behind, so it's just going to disappear behind the city. And what I can do is you can put like a level of haze, in between this layer and the city in front. Yeah, just kind of work our way into the distance, making things a little smaller. I'm thinking I'm probably going to go over this, like make this layer less opaque and go over it with a thinner brush, like a finishing layer, I don't know, we'll see. Yeah, and just do be sure to let me know, what you think of what we're doing here. And so, of course, people also who have played Humblewood will say, "Well, there's already a perfectly good, illustration of Alderheart in the main rule book, And it's like that art that art already exists." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know. It's like using my own art when I run games, And also, my version of Alderheart is more built up. Theirs is I feel like the scale doesn't work for what we're trying, what I'm trying to portray in my game, which is basically, how the birds have really urbanized and turned it into sort of this, the city below and then the city above. It's very cyberpunk, I guess, where the rich literally live on space. Yeah, like Altered Carbon, this TV show based on a book series, I think, where the rich people are so rich they become immortal, and they can afford to back up their bodies and make clones of themselves and all that stuff. They're so rich they literally live, in floating mansions above the ground, and they're completely untouchable. And that's kind of made me lose interest in the series. Like it was really cool to watch, but as the series went on, it became increasingly clear that the rich people who were behind all of the shenanigans, that our main character, played by Joel Kinnaman, I forget his name. Anyway, he was supposed to sort of try to, find out who was trying to murder the guy, and just kind of gets lost. The story just, and I remember I watched it one time and I couldn't understand. It was great and everything. And watching it the second time, I was like, oh yeah, I remember now. Rich assholes, in order to get away with being rich assholes, they're just murdering people. and they're never punished for their crimes, and I'm like, it's just I don't want fiction in which rich people are doing things that rich people already do, you know, in the real world, where basically these are people who don't follow the same laws as, you know, people in the lower classes, as it were, and who are never punished for their crimes, and or who, you know, very rarely you end up with these court cases where, you know, some rich guy, sexual assault, whatever, gets a slap on the wrist, or sometimes some rich person gets a big punishment, you know, for their crime, and you never hear from them again, and you're assuming that, you know, they got parole or whatever. Just, you know, meanwhile, people from the lower classes tend to you know, get murdered by the cops resisting arrest or whatever. So anyway, just trying to create this world where the where the poor folk just have to literally live in the shadow of this great city that is above. You know, like, there are no trees in the ground below. It'd be cool also to have, like, kind of like Battle Angel Alita. Is that the, yeah, you know, where you have the people who live above. That didn't work. The people who live above basically have these ways to get people down. Yeah, that's not bad. Could be worse, eh? Could be worse, eh? Now, when I get to the edge of the tablet, the accuracy of where the cursor is much lessened, and so you got to be careful there. All right, that's pretty good. Let's just keep going. So I made this this art piece a little wider. These buildings are going to just kind of disappear behind the trees that are in the foreground, but yeah. All right, so that's that. Not bad. I'm going to have more buildings sticking out. Again, they'll just be hidden by the, if I make the color fully opaque. Oh, it's not fully opaque. Okay, because I used these watercolor paint brushes that aren't fully opaque. Interesting. Oh, hang on. That's not terrible. Okay, that's not too bad. Yeah. So I'm gonna make I'm gonna go Control J, make a copy of that, delete everything. I'm just gonna go in here. And what colors did I use for this other stuff? Kind of like reds and browns. Okay, so I'll just do this similar thing. make them more washed out. I gotta make this layer multiplication layer. I'm not using the same brush. I'm going to go down to the Slain Monster brush. Too small. Again, you know, my art is, well, it is what it is. I feel like my art is not, I don't know, sometimes people are willing to pay me for it, but typically I feel like my art is, you know, it's good enough for what I want to do. And maybe it doesn't have the look of finished art that you see like on the covers of D&D books and stuff, but I mean, seriously. I don't need to make art like that. It already exists, by, you know, made by artists who are real artists. It's amazing. I don't need to do that. I just want to make art fairly quickly. And again, this one's actually on the longish side for me compared to what I normally do. But I think I want to run some adventures in Alderheart, you know, the great city. Put some grays in there. I think we're gonna have like smoke rising from it, you know, like real you can kind of do some real you know, dark stuff, or you know, the industrial age, all the poor humble folk living underneath, and it's all the industry that's down there. Oop, wrong brush. That's one thing that happens a lot. I'm going to go back to Slain Monster, and I'm going to make it smaller, and then let's see. Okay. Fuck off. Pardon my language. I sometimes have trouble with my brushes. You know, you hit the wrong key and it reverts to a different brush, and you draw for half an hour with the wrong brush, and you're like, why does it look different? Anyway, yeah, so Alderheart, man. So in the current campaign, the players have reached 13th level, kind of doing like a turbo level up type situation in this game, and so they're leveling up really fast. And we've slowed it down a little bit the past few sessions, and now they're in Alderheart. One of the characters, Hoot, the Strig Owl, her long-lost sister has reached out to her and wants to talk to her. And it seems her sister's sent an underling who's kind of an awful person, and so let's see what happens. And meanwhile, well, with a message that you know, Hoot's friends have been imprisoned for heresy against the Amaranthine religion and are to be executed. And so maybe Hoot and her friends can come to town in order to, you know, talk about what's going to happen to her friends. Yeah, so if I just kind of do, I just want to see what it's going to look like if I, yeah, so in the background you have sort of I can put a layer of fog there to separate the buildings in the background from those in the foreground so that they'll stand out more, which is fine. So that's when you do the Control L levels and you just make everything more whiter. You can also make everything more darker. That's cool. Alright, so I'm just going to make it less opaque. It's not bad. I feel like I want to do more. I want to do buildings in the foreground. I'm going to do the trees in the foreground. Let's do that. I'm just going to do the tree. I'm going to do I call this one trees. How long have we been going so far here? I just want to see. 15 minutes, good. Boy, time flies when you're talking to your fans. Alright, so this is foreground trees. Just want to make sure everything else is fine. Okay. So I'm going to close off everything so that I don't have to see it. I'm just going to see. It's these things here in the foreground. So I'm going to go back to my regular brush. Make it thicker. I'm just going to kind of bring them out. And again, you know, I'm not doing realistic trees, I'm just doing whatever. I'm making them on different layers. It's pretty great. And it's a mixed forest, you know, like we have in Eastern Ontario, Western Quebec. Just some nice happy little trees, you know, in the foreground here. And again, it's my black line drawing style, which is, this is how I roll. It's not bad. I'm just going to make sure that we have a nice solid line that goes through this whole thing. So that we can just kind of fill this with a dark color to be the foreground, you know? Okay, Control D to deselect everything. I'm just going to make a new layer, Control J, Control A, delete. I'm going to go back to the tree layer and select all the space in between the trees. Did it work? Nope. Go back to the tree layer. Might have had it already on. Yeah, okay, so that's good. So I'm noticing there's no dotted line inside the trees anywhere, so that's good. And so I'm going to go select invert. Go to the front layer and then just, you know, find a green color and then just paint it in using the... Here, let's use the, just to show you what it looks like, the bushes paintbrush. Oops, you gotta make it really big. Just gonna make this nice and dark. Okay, so it's all filled in. So now I'm just gonna go with a lighter color. Not quite as big. Yeah, it's... Now if we make the opacity less, then go with another color again, the leaves are still too small. Now I'm going to go multiply on the brush so that it's just going darker and darker the more you hit it. let's see what happens if we turn on this and this and this. This should be more opaque. Well, so far it's not terrible. Although interestingly, the bushes thing. I'm gonna go Control J, A, delete. I'm gonna just do a select. I'm gonna select everything that the trees were. I'm gonna go back to this layer. I'm just gonna put it in solid. I'm just gonna fill it solid. It's still transparent. It's 100%, 100%. Yep. Okay. So, Control A, delete. I'm just going to go to here and do the reverse selection thing again. It's because that that brush isn't opaque enough. So, I'm going to go here. I'm going to go select invert, and I'm going to fill. My opacity is 100%. 100%. Why is my building still showing through? That's weird. What am I doing wrong? So this is there. This is the thing that should be 100% opaque. And it isn't. Isn't that weird? I'm going to keep filling it. 100%. Oh, it's on the... Oh, Jesus. Okay. It's because I'm using the multiply. I'm using multiply. We're good. It turns out it was I was just using multiply, so I was just being dumb. I'm just going to merge those layers. So now we have the tree in the background with the lines, with the background stuff, and a lot of stuff back there. Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. I think what I want is I want more little trees in the foreground. So I'm just going to hide. I'm just going to reduce the opacity on this layer so I can see where I'm doing stuff. And I'm going to go here and create some happy little trees. Why is my thing hourglassing? Oh God, what have I done? Control Z. That always works. I'm going to go back to my pen tool and use my Kyle's Ultimate Inking. And I think what I want to do is like here. This is going to be on top of this the layer here that we're looking at. So I think what I'm going to do is draw more buildings. More buildings. It's just I don't want any trees in the front in the clearing where the tree is, because that's where the tree is blocking out all the light. We could have like what, giant ferns maybe, things that don't need much light to grow. I don't know. I just don't know. Yeah, so I'm just gonna draw more buildings in the foreground. And again, we're just going to draw them right on top of these because that's because they're going to be the layer on top. could be like a hill, you know, in front of the. Yeah, that could work. And again, I'm not going to draw too much where the trees are because, well, the trees are going to hide what all that stuff is. So. And again, because this is like a different layer, I can make it, you know, I can change the coloration of it to stand out more or less or whatever. Okay, so that's hiding, that's good. Yeah, so just kind of like throwing that all in there. Okay, so let's just hide everything that's back there. That's not bad. Again, it just kind of looks busy, right? That's fine. I'm just closing it all off with a solid line because I want to do the control so that I can just fill it all in without overlapping. Yeah, underneath the line is just like a undefined or just like a wavy line because it's going to be behind the trees. There we go. So we done deselect everything, and now I want to make a new layer. Control J, delete. Go back here, select everything outside of what I just drew. Didn't work. When you do the Control J thing, it tends to select everything, and then you can't. Anyway, I'm going to invert the selection. I'm going to go back to my other layer, and it's already on multiply. I'm going to make excuse me, I'm going to go here, so it's already on multiply. I'm just going to find myself some nice color, go back to my slain monster, and just fill it in. Maybe make it a bit smaller because my machine is having a little bit of trouble. How are we doing on time, by the way? Where is my 29 minutes? Okay, good. Time flies. And you know, if you find my things are too long, well, F you. No, if you find my things are too long, you can just run it at a higher speed. My voice will be a little bit more chipmunky, but otherwise, you know, that's what it is. I'm okay with that. I'm just gonna go underneath here to catch a bit of extra so that just nothing is visible. There we go. And do some of the other colors that we had in some of the other areas. Again, it's just a very quick. Don't really have any blue blue in the rest of it, so let's just cover that up a little bit. Okay, that's not bad. Okay, so now I'm going to go Control D. I'm going to merge these two layers. Normally, you know, if you're doing like a piece of art, you don't want to merge everything because you want to go back and fix it. But in this case, this is pretty quick and dirty, so 100%, 100%. Like the tree itself and the black lines. I don't know if I want to darken that just yet, or merge those two layers just yet. All right, so that's what we have there. I feel like the big tree needs to be taller. I'm gonna go back to my inking, make it black. Just gonna go, I feel like all the trees should be a little pointier. Also, I was taking a look at some of the art piece that inspired me, which is the wall decal that you can buy. It's one of these, you know, shipped from China, printed on vinyl. It's like a vinyl wall decal of this beautiful tree with fairy lights in it and all that stuff. And the branches are more visible from underneath. I don't want to reference it here because, quite frankly, I'm not stealing it, and in fact, I'm very carefully not using it as a reference to trace over it. You know how artists will often say, "This is my reference," and they're just basically tracing. Not gonna do that. So nope. Just gonna do the selection thing so that I can. I drew in the wrong thing. No, hang on. But I just want to, you know, I just still want to be inspired by it because it was really nice. So yeah, thanks whoever you are. I'm just going to go back to my slain monster brush, make it a little smaller, and just fill this in. Let's invert that selection. And then, you know, fill this in. Yeah, just fill it in. Make a happy little tree over here. It's a happy little tree. Just draw it up like the Dickens. Yeah, just a happy little tree. It's very happy. Yeah, so in all likelihood, I'll go back and I'll draw some more branches that are visible from, you know, from the, because we're slightly under, or at the same level as the middle of the tree, so which means we can look up into the top part there and see some shit happening. So yeah. Okay, so I think I want to make another layer in the background. This is the background city. Call this one background city, whatever. And I'm going to do some more lines, but I'm going to make my line, where's my toolbar? I think it's appearing on my, oh, it's appearing, no, I don't know where my toolbar is appearing. Here it is. Okay, yep. I'm just going to make it a little line, a little thinner. What did I just do? I think I just messed up my OBS. Okay, we're good. Just going to go down here. I'm going to just do sort of just going to draw a line right all the way across and just keep going. Hope I'm in the right layer here. Yeah, I think so. Okay, so I did that. Let me just hide all the layers that are above so I can see what I'm doing here. Just going to draw sort of some buildings that kind of go up. This is like even more in the background. That's why I'm making them with a thin line. They're much smaller. Smaller buildings, and I want them to kind of curve up, you know, like they're heading into the forest, or they're things that are in the background. Yeah, something like that. Okay. Now if we do the selection thing, I'm going to make a new layer. And I'm going to Control D to deselect everything, and I'm going to do the selection thing, which should select everything outside. Didn't work. Okay. I'm going to get rid of everything that's in front. Oh, because I kind of, that's why. It's because I'm an idiot. Okay, so I'm just going to do some more buildings here. Again, it's kind of squiggly lines, squiggly lines. Okay, so I think it's all closed up. We'll see. And I just drew this, did I draw it in the wrong place? I did not. So let's do a selection. Hope that we selected everything on the outside of that. We did. I'm going to invert. Inverse, go back to this other layer and go multiply, and I'm just going to do a fill. And sort of this color. Okay, and we're going to merge those and turn on all the layers in front. Okay, I'm going to merge the tree color in the tree, because otherwise the it's not opaque. Yeah, okay. It's good. All right, this is what we have so far. All right, so let's make another layer in the background. Delete everything else, and we're going to call this back forest. Is that working? Oh, that's oh, I see. A lot of these things are hidden behind my face on the screen. Oh well, it is what it is. Okay, so I'm making one called background forest, and that's going to be the forest in the background, people. Obviously. So we're going to go back to my pen tool and just draw some background forest is not fully opaque. Let's just make it visible. This is just going to go across the back. Another thing you can do with things that are in the background is use the blurring tool. Like just blur the whole layer to make it look like it's farther away. Problem with doing that though is you can end up with things that look it ends up looking like you're forcing the perspective. It also takes away the illusion. It makes it seem less like a piece of art and more like, you know, attempting to make it look like the background in a game, or like trying to make it like a photo or something. But my style isn't photographic, and so I guess what your oil painters, you know, your whatever hundreds of years ago oil painters would do in this case is they would just paint the background sort of like a bunch of very broad strokes, right? Like making a comedy very broad. And whereas I'm going instead for very fine lines, because things are farther away, the lines are thinner, you know, they're smaller, yeah. So this is just going to be very dark green. I want it to go behind the bottom of the tree. Because it's going to be dark, and I want it to be dark under the tree. trees here. You know, where some of the rich folk are living in their little tree houses just outside of the. In fact, Hoot's family come from a place not very far from Alderheart, where they're, you know, the nouveau riche, trying to turn it into a nice neighborhood, basically. Okay, that's not bad. I'm going to again hide all the layers in front so that I can see what I'm doing, because I kind of want to go over it to make sure that I have a solid line all the way across, so that I can do the whole, that use the selection tool to select this everything outside of this layer as we do, and then just color it in easily. Hey, if anyone has any questions, you know, about my process, or about, you know, how do I get into art, be a great artist, well, don't ask me, but you know, questions about my process or whatever, or if you want me to draw something for you, my rates are not reasonable. And so yeah, okay, so we've got all that selected. Actually, I forgot, hang on, deselect. I'm going to go Control J, Control A, delete, do select outside of there. Did it work? Nope. Go again. How many minutes do we have? We have 42 minutes. Okay, good. So I'm going to, yeah, so whenever I do like portraits of characters for people and stuff like that, you know, I typically charge $40 for an hour of work. And usually I'll charge people 2 hours for like a full body character, for their D&D character. But I usually spend considerably more than 2 hours. I just don't feel like I can charge more than $80 for a drawing of a person or a full color illustration. But I mean, that's just me. Okay, so going back to that layer, normal, multiply. I'm going to go green, but dark, very dark. Use the fill tool. And why does the fill? It's not. That was the wrong tool. Why does the fill tool fill everything, even though there's black lines in there? Shouldn't. Fuck. Pardon my language. Select invert. And go again. It's because I'm not actually filling in. I'm filling in the layer that's on top of the black lines. That's a little dark. It's pretty good. In fact, you know what? I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go back to my slain monster. Slightly lighter color and just kind of go in there. It's not actually doing anything. And no. There we go. And this is pretty much just trees. There's no buildings in this, so. Yeah, this is the forest behind Alderheart, man. I'm gonna merge those layers. And again, I'm not too worried about merging them in case I have to go back and fix it, because quite frankly, it'll take me a few minutes to make the whole layer. I can just start over. All right, so this is what we have so far. Wow, on my main monitor, it looks a lot more vibrant in color than on my drawing tablet. That's fine. It's fine. We could probably do some, you know, mountains or whatnot in the background, or another layer. In fact, I'm just going to go Control J, Control T, and just make some more forest back there. Just going to make that a little bit less. There we go. It's not terrible. We're getting there. We're getting there. And then, you know, if you really want, we can just kind of do the background. I want to do like a purple sky. Just going to fill the background. Boop. With a pretty dark color. Wow. Okay. Control Z. Let's fill that again so that we don't have that weird shape in the back. What the fuck? Oh, it's because the stuff in the front is, yeah. I like how my tree top is not the same color as the rest of the tree. That's no big deal. Because I think what I want to do is make this like the city of lights, you know, like the dark city. Just gonna go in and use like a different kind of tool, like a splish splash or something. Make it really big and just see if I can get. Ugh, no. Whoa. Edit. Oh, we can just go here and redo paintbrush. Okay. In fact, what I'm gonna do. Nope. Nope. I'm gonna darken. I'm gonna go back to my Selene monster. So my paintbrush is kind of like whoa, or my computer's having trouble keeping up with the paintbrush. Just gonna wait for the brush to catch up, and then we're gonna go. Yep, it's still drawing. It crawls across the screen. Are we good? Are we good? We're good. Are we good? Okay. It's gonna make it less opaque. Doing it. Yeah, I think I'll go back to the whenever my computer's ready to go, to the dark purple, and just kind of cover up that sky. Yeah, we put the evening star up there or whatnot. Okay. So that's what we have so far. Now, people who are watching this are kind of like, Jesus, that looks like shit. Well, yep. But don't worry. It'll, it's going to look better eventually. It's going to look better. So now what I would be doing, I almost feel like I want to work on those the trees in the foreground because they look the worst right now. Let's go back to the foreground trees. I'm going to make a new layer. Always make a new layer, and I'm just going to kind of draw in some stuff, man. Make my lines a bit thicker. That's where we can start making the trees kind of stand out in front of the trees that are in front of them. You know, like how the trees in the background are a little darker. So we can just kind of draw the edges. And again, don't worry if the colors look too vibrant on the whole drawing. Like if it just really jumps out at you, you know, too much like a Dr. Seuss or something. Don't worry about it, man. We're gonna apply some filters, Instagram, to kind of fix a lot of that stuff. So don't you worry. And so again, this is non-destructive because I'm not even drawing on the layer that these trees are on. I'm drawing on the layer on top of it. Okay, so we have that. That's pretty good. I'm gonna make it a more bluer green. And so again, you know, this is just gonna make the trees look a little bit more interesting in the foreground. Probably going to run a blur, not going to lie, probably going to run a blur on this anyway to sort of make them, you know, the foreground kind of be, so that we're focusing on the buildings beyond. But again, that's kind of tricky because you're trying to duplicate what a camera does, where it's, cameras are better at blurring, well, if you're blurring the foreground, you're probably not going to be blurring the background, and so that means the stuff that's behind the tree will have to remain sharp as it is. That's not bad, especially since these trees don't resemble real trees in any way. I mean, we just spent like several weeks with a real tree in our living room. I just want to see what it looks like if I try to put some black back into there to just kind of darken the inside of the tree. It's not bad. Just kind of reinforces the notion that this is line art with color. And again, if this looks terrible, delete it, start over again. It's all digital, man. It's all good that way. Yeah, so again, the theme of all of my D&D games is basically the struggles of the poor, of the underclass against the entitled assholes who run everything, just like in real life. That mushroom building right up here is really standing out. Maybe it's an important building. Maybe it's a happy little building just living over there. You never know. Okay, that's not bad. Gonna go back to the green again. Make a thicker brush. Just makes the edges stand out a bit, it's nice. And again, don't worry if it's too saturated. Don't you worry; it'll be less saturated when we apply all the filters, which tends to unify all the layers too. When we bring in the lighting tools and things that Photoshop has, which is pretty cool. Yeah, it's not bad. Let's go down to the trees that are back here. Almost like fall colors, eh? I almost want to use the leaf. I don't know. Yeah, this might look terrible. Who knows? What's important is that that you're watching my videos and commenting and liking them and stuff, and just saying how happy you are that you're just listening to the mellifluous sound of my voice. Yeah. I'm gonna go back in and bring up the, where is that? I'm gonna go back to the bushes tool, I think. The bushes tool. It's just, it's so it's very I mean, it didn't make it opaque enough. Nothing's happening. I wonder what I did. I really hate it when I do something and I don't know what I did. Oh, because I made the pen size 1. In fact, I'm just gonna make it black. Oh, see, it's not. Ugh. I hate it. I can make it like super big. Something like that, but then it just doesn't. Ugh. Nope. Actually, it doesn't look terrible. It just doesn't look good with the style that I'm making the evergreen trees in. So instead, what I'm going to have to do is draw the individual leaves. You know, draw more individual leaves than I was doing. Yeah, just draw the leaves and then I can color them in. Yeah, something like that. Okay. Yeah, so I want to end today's session with basically having roughed in all the layers. So this will be the roughing in of all the layers. Find the trees just look like you know, pubic hair, but yeah. Yeah, something like that. Are we still seeing it up there? Yep, we're still seeing it. So I'm still fairly new at this whole, you know, recording stuff that I'm doing on the screen. So if you know, if I've accidentally left a browser window open or something and my bank account numbers are showing, please let me know. Don't just buy something and then have it shipped to yourself. So if I go back to the green, yeah, see, when you just fill them in, they look pretty good. So that's good. Just look up here. Just look up here. Pay no attention to all the other shit that's going on. That's not bad. Again, I can just make it a bit lighter. And the leaves kind of stand out. Oh, it looks good. In fact, I'm going to make them bigger. Darker over here. Make them a little bigger. So here I'm just kind of like drawing, you know, thicker pats of color in where I put all of the squiggly lines to indicate. In fact, if you really wanted to, you could make much bigger blobs and then make them green and then make them a bit smaller. And that would put, you know, you'd make leaves with shadows under them kind of thing. So there you go. Just going to draw some leaves, make them a bit lighter. And again, I should probably be picking colors that already exist instead of making a new green color each time, but you know, I'm pretty lazy, as you might know by now. That's pretty good. See, and this is something I cannot do on the main tree because this is just, these leaves would be too big, or I'd have to make them so small. When you're trying to get that impression of scale and size and ponderousness, it's just not going to work. Plus, I want the tree to be more underlit so that we can see all the lights in it. It's gonna look nice if we have lots of lights in it to show, you know, like early evening. Like this is the people, the city's coming to life. You know, a lot of the ruling class, the birds, the bird folk. You know, the strigs, the owl folk are like, yes, our workday begins. You know, they don't like the daylight. What does that look like? Yeah, it's not terrible. Hey, 10 minutes ago, I bet you didn't think it was going to be looking this good. Right? Right? I hope. I feel it's a little too blue. I'm going to go to the black again over here and just make some nice big leaves. Nice big leaves, yep. Go back to the green. Just kind of go over the black. Alright, that's not bad. Yes, I'm just going to draw and cover up those little black spots. All right, so to those of you, so that's what, yeah, so poof. I'm going to merge these two layers. Merge. Because one thing that's cool is you can use the oil paint brushes to kind of blend everything together too. Now, if you find those trees are just, they look like they're glowing in the dark. They look like, you know, just nasty alien, the blood, yeah, the blood of the predator. Yeah, yeah. Let's just do a Control L. Oh no, hang on, no, I just want to go, I want to image, adjustments. This is where all of your cool stuff is. We're going to go hue, saturation. So hue and saturation are going to go, so hue allows you to change, you know, the hue. Actually, I can make it more warmer. Yeah, that's nice. But it's the saturation. You want to bring that way down. See, makes it look a lot less, you can also make it darker by playing with the lightness. I don't want to mess with that because this is not a smart object. So if I were to make this into a smart object, I wouldn't be able to edit it anymore in terms of drawing and color and stuff, but I would be able to do things like hue and saturation and stuff. And it would become non-destructive, which means you could go back later on and change the hue and saturation to something different without having destroyed it. Anyway, so there we go. I think that's going to be a good stopping point. I've been going for an hour and 4 minutes. So there you go, people. I hope you like what I'm doing with Alderheart, the great city. Until next time, I'm just going to try to find my thing to stop the streaming, and ciao, until next time.